Hey everyone, before we get to today's show, I have a few things to share. Please come out and see me at Junkstock on Friday, October 4th from 9 to 2 p.m. in the Stable building. I'll be out there signing books and hanging out for the morning. My next book, Suck Cycle, is in the editing and design phase and is scheduled for release on November 25th. In the meantime, reach out if you're interested or curious about the program. Remember to check out my first book. It's called I Asked God to Kill Me. It's available on Amazon, so check that out and pick it up. Finally, reach out to me on socials. I'm at Real Jim Moats on Instagram and at the Ministry of Freedom Show YouTube channel. Remember, we grow this thing organically, and I need you to share the show, contribute to us using the links you'll find on social, and spread the word. Today, I sit down with our friend Mike Collins. We answer 6 thoughtful questions from the tribe. So settle in and please enjoy episode 49 of the Ministry of Freedom Show. All right, so we're recording, and the last thing that you said, just so the audience is caught up, is if you put a quarter in my head, I just go.
That's correct. And I put in $1.25 before we turned on. So
all right, so we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
You know what episode we're on?
We are 3 weeks away from 1 year.
Well, okay, so what's that math?
52. So that would make us at 49.
We are at 49. Yeah, good job, man.
Yes, yeah, it's coming. The 1 year is coming.
It is. Then what do we do? Go on hiatus?
I don't know. I'm going to see about getting one of them confetti cannons for the 52nd episode.
Well, that since we do it remote like this, you just mess up your own room. So yeah, you go ahead and fire that thing off.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple things. So
I'll go to Starbucks.
Dude.
What's Starbucks say when I start blowing off the confetti cannons?
Well, if it's rainbow colored, they'd probably have a party for you.
Okay. I guess you did pull out the stops. Okay.
I did. I'm just, you know what? Do you want to talk about the baristas and my frustration with them? I don't know when they all started painting their fingernails, and I mean the males. It is what it is, but I've never seen so many 112-pound, 6'3", 19-year-old males in my life with bags under their eyes and painted fingernails and just the most effeminate body.
What do you think they do, man?
With like the rest of their days when they're not at Starbucks? Shoot estrogen, mainline it, well, estradiol right in the, I don't know. I don't know if it's chemical. Maybe there's something in the chicken. Maybe there's something in the water, but something is wrong with 19-year-old people.
And you saw like testosterone levels have dropped. It's like some crazy number. It was like 40% of the levels they were 40 years ago.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is environmental, and a lot of it has to do with nutrition. Yes. So there's a lot to it. And this is that I'm being somewhat facetious because it's not all young people. It's not all young men, but there's a much higher percentage of young men that fit that bill than there were 5 years ago.
Yeah,
I think, and I'm not. This isn't a knock on their sexuality either. Okay, yeah. Because I really could care less what somebody's doing at home and who they're having sex with. But I'm just talking about, and this is what I mean by that. Being an effeminate male person isn't an insinuation that I think you're a gay person. I don't care if you're a gay person. Just like there are testosterone-filled, jacked, manly, masculine men who prefer to have sex with other dudes. So that it doesn't line up that way all the time. I just am wondering, how they got that frail and weak at that age. They're so young. They should be young and virile and ready to get at life. You know what I mean?
No.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. But that's a whole nother subject. It has nothing to do with today's show.
Another episode, effeminate men. We kind of touched on that before, but we'll continue to touch on it.
Yeah. So our mission then is we're going to touch effeminate men. That's going to be a great short if we can cut that out.
Yeah.
So today's a Q&A. And I thought it'd be
cool up as just a short right there. Just that.
Just that one?
We're going to touch effeminate men.
We can do that. We can cut that out.
Put it in.
I'd get a lot of good comments on that one.
Yeah.
as
Maybe,
opposed to
maybe this
hate.
will like some. Maybe this will make some of the younger kids that have been hacking on us like us better.
That's right. Calling us boomers and homophobes and everything else.
Yeah. Yep. No, we're going to touch on young men. Looks like I got one too. We both got it.
Good. So good. So let's jump from that over to a scripture.
Okay.
So today's scripture reference from Jeremiah 30:17. I will give you back your health again and heal your wounds. Nice short scripture, right?
Very short.
I will give you back your health again and heal your wounds. Because some of the stuff we're going to talk about today is from a health perspective. So, like I said, it is Q&A. And what I did is I put out there on my socials, I solicited different questions and I limited the topics. So, do you see the topics that I put out there for people? So the audience knows college and NFL football, preparedness, faith, health and fitness, politics, business and entrepreneurship, dealing with Debbie Downers, and leadership. And so this was the most response we've gotten to any calls for a Q&A show. So that was pretty fun. So I had a lot of good questions to go through and I narrowed it down. I think we're going to do 6. And then if you have anything that you've come across, we could certainly address as well. So the first question we'll jump into, it's long. A couple of these are, and they're multifaceted. This one has 4 parts to it. And I want to make sure I'm addressing them all because I think it's these are all great questions and they're well thought out. It has to do with mental health and well-being. So I have a disclaimer. I actually wrote out this disclaimer a little bit about my feelings about this. So the audience knows where I'm coming, what my perspective is and where I'm coming from before we answer. So I want to be clear about a couple of things regarding my views on mental health issues. I know firsthand mental illness is real. So I don't walk around as a super depressed guy and I'm down all the time, but I have and do battle what would be diagnosed more than likely as some mental illness stuff. I don't think I'm an absolute crazy person, but I do battle some anxieties, and I have been through and put myself through some traumatic situations in life in the last year and a half that have drastically affected my mental health. And I talk about those in my first book, and I'm very honest and open about it. So I do know mental illness is real, and I've lived it, and I struggle with some of it. I also, however, am a living testimony that our mental health can drastically improve when we focus on a few things. So clean nutrition, hydration, lifting weights, walking, getting out in the sun, being around our friends, belly laughing several times a day. To expect that therapy and medication alone are going to heal our minds and emotion, to me, that's a lazy person's way of just wanting to be okay with not being okay. I don't think they're after a solution. I think they're after a masking, and I think they're after a little bit of martyrdom and a little bit of sympathy from people. And I don't think that improving is necessarily their main focus at therapy and meds as far as they go. Anything about that before we get into the question?
No, I think you nailed it. I think you have to definitely put forth effort. Like everything in your life, if you want to be successful at it, there's not just a magic pill.
Yeah, good thought. Good word. First part of the question, it reads, how does societal pressure impact mental health, particularly in relation to career and success? So, good question. Societal pressure, I guess I have a tough time answering this because I don't really feel that. And I don't really recall feeling a lot of societal pressure in my life in relation to career and money and things of that nature. The pressure for me was internal. So I guess the pressure is pressure. So regardless of where it's coming from, I would say that the person that typed this, if this is on their mind, they're probably feeling some societal pressure in regards to maybe feeling they haven't lived up to career potential, financial success, and the potential in those fields. And that is impacting this person's mental health, and negatively, I would say. Do you think that we are in a season in our society where there is a lot of pressure on people of all different generations to press for money and career success?
I think there's some of that, but I can relate this when I hear this question. I think about your experience when you had that falsified claim of the noose at the car lot. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, all of a sudden you got news crews and you got a lot of societal pressure on your establishment, your business that was harming you. And And I'm sure you did actually have some stress from that during that time.
For sure.
So that's how, and
Oh, that's
obviously would
interesting.
have, yeah, it would have affected your monetary. I mean, obviously, people
Yeah.
don't want to show up to a car lot that there's people standing outside throwing bricks at them, following them home.
So I'll tell you what was difficult about that time was so I didn't read the question from that perspective. So I'm glad that you brought that up. You saw it a little differently than I did. First off, let me say from the perspective I read it from is I remember back in maybe the 80s and the 90s, I think that there was societal pressure for excelling, and money, 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 money. And I think that's been lessened as I don't think this, and we'll get into this in a further question, but I don't think that there is that much focus put on monetary success by younger generations. When you talk about societal pressure in the workplace, though, that was a difficult time for the audience that isn't quite caught up. There was back in the George Floyd time in 2020, we had a false racial claim against a business that I was operating. And this African American lady claimed that a manager in the organization put a noose on her desk. And it turned out to be a total lie. But she was all over social media. We had protesters outside of the businesses. She got on a local news station with no thought to even doing a background and validating her story. And it was a mess. And I had people with signs with my name on them talking about I'm a racist and I'm this and that. And the biggest societal pressure, the biggest pressure came not from societal pressure so much, but from my partners who were adamant that I couldn't say anything. Can't have any contact with them, can't go out there, you can't confront them. And that just goes against everything that I'm about. And we ended up, putting our tails between our legs and doing what we could to, just wait it all out. And yeah, it was that there was definitely some mental health struggles though. That was a tough season. That was a tough season. No doubt. Um, the next part of the question says, what are the barriers to accessing mental health resources in various communities? Well, the barriers I think are going to be based upon several factors. And unfortunately, it comes back to financial factors. I don't think that there's big racial divides here, but there are economic divides. I think if you have an amazing health insurance and you live in a metropolitan, more urban area, I think you have access to all the mental health that help that you could want. Do you agree?
No, yeah. Yeah, it's like everything. If you have enough money, you can get a lot different level of care. I have an employee right now that's been struggling with some mental health issues, and he's better off for me to lay him off and work part time and be able to get the help he needs for the next couple months
Yeah.
than to be working full time. Because if he's working full time, I think he said his weekly pay on for the help he needs is going to be $600 a week.
Unbelievable.
And so if I lay him off and he works 10 to 15 hours a week, it drops to like $100 a week that it's going to cost him or
So
whatever.
it makes more sense for him.
Yeah. So they put people in, I mean, think about the position you're putting somebody in who's struggling for mental health to the point that they went to get help. They seek help
Yeah.
only to find out that, well, if we're going to give you help, we're going to, you can't afford it.
Yeah. So there you go. We have class problems in this country. And the fact that everyone doesn't have access to mental health care, that's a huge problem. And my mindset goes to, and I'm not a big government person. I'm a small government, more conservative type of a dude. But I do think that there have to be programs available, and I think this needs to be government subsidized. If you have awesome health insurance and you're wealthy and you're in a situation where you can shell out 600 or whatever it takes a week to take care of your mental health, you don't really need assistance for that. But someone like the employee that you're discussing, there should be a way for that person to be able to work full time, to contribute and feel like he's contributing and to work on his financial future while he's able to have that health care that he needs, that mental health care subsidized. If we can ship $160 billion every few months to fight a war against Russia and Ukraine, there should be money for people to seek mental health care. And that's disgusting to me that we're in a country that doesn't yet have that. And I don't think either side has a policy that's going to address that. From various communities, this person asked, I think that I would guess, and this is pure speculation, I would guess small towns have way less access to quality mental health care than we would in the major part of the metro area. Would you say that's true, or am I missing?
For sure. And when I look at that, when he's saying communities, I assume he's talking about different minorities and stuff.
Okay. So barriers to accessing mental health resources in various communities. Yeah. So community, you're right. It could mean maybe there is a race component there. And again, I don't think that it's that the access, if there's less access in certain communities, I don't think they're along racial lines. Now, the argument could be made that there are a lot of poor African American and Hispanic communities, but there are also poor white communities.
Yeah.
So, in other words, I guess what I'm saying is if there's an affluent part of town that has a lot of non-white people, they still have good access to mental health care. So it's not about race, it's about money, and it's equally as harming. But I do think that we need to be clear that I don't think you and I believe that there's a racial divide between white people get good mental health care and black people don't. I don't believe that's true in this country, but I do think there's some financial disparities here that need to be addressed. Yeah. Ready for part 3?
Yep.
How can we create a culture that promotes openness about mental health struggles? You want to go first?
There's really no good way to tell people, but I do feel that we're always down on the way that society is bringing people out, whether it's gay and lesbian, whether it's whatever. Like our society now is more accepting overall of everything. So I think society today is a better place to come out that you have a mental health issue.
Yeah.
Like the employee I was discussing now in the last part, he's a truck driver. I don't feel like 15 years ago, he would have been in a position where a guy that drives a big rig would call his boss and say, "Hey man, I'm going to go ahead and get some help." And
yeah.
So I feel like overall, I think society's already making progress. So what do we do to continue that? I think just discussing it obviously helps.
I agree. I think we are at a place that more than ever it's accepted. And I can give you an example. We're going to talk about the NFL at one of the later questions today. There are mental health issues in the NFL, and we've got football players coming out saying they need breaks because they need to take care of their mental health. Was that going to happen 10 years ago?
Simone Biles, dude.
Same great example. At the Olympics, she's having mental health struggles and I just can't compete. I'll be honest, dude. I torched her for that.
I'm still pissed about it. I'm not gonna lie.
Same. I'm in my living room yelling and screaming like I'm wrapped in a flag. I've got the comfort of my home, and she's out there dealing with some real world stuff. And I'm not discounting what she was going through, but yeah, full transparency. I was like, "What's wrong with you? You're an athlete. You see through it." But
you've been training for her your whole life, and now all of a sudden on game day, you're.
Yeah. But you know what? I would say in hindsight, it was probably the right thing to do for her. And who are we to judge that? So I know that my heart and my mind is softening towards those in regards to those things a little bit. I'm probably not, caught up with the times.
More discussion, and to answer his question, the more it's discussed and openly, the more it's accepted and tolerated. And it's a viable excuse or reason.
I'd like to throw this out too. I think that one of the things that can be a detriment to us being as a society so open to hearing about those struggles is there's a lot of people that do it that aren't real. They're not transparent or authentic. And I think the more of those people that want to use the mental health card that aren't really struggling with things, they hamper those that really need that grace and that care. So we need to be quick to call out those people that are just posing too.
Our brains are exactly on the same track, except for 180 degrees. Because it's funny, when you said that, I just thought in my head, my next thing I was going to say is I may actually use this to get out of something I don't want to do at some point, that I'm having a mental health day and I won't be able to attend.
For sure.
And then you talked on people. Yeah.
Dude, I wish I should have used this mental health stuff when I was leaving the auto group.
Yeah. I'm not going to be in today's shop. I got a mental health day.
That's right. Mental health.
The 30th of the month. Are you kidding me?
Yep, can't handle the 30th. If it was the 29th, I'd be there.
Yep.
So the last part of this person's question, what role do mentorship and community support play in improving mental wellness? I think like any other relationship, any other topic, mentorship is important. Fellowship, doing things in community, not being isolated, I think they're crucial. And I don't think we have enough people willing to step up and be mentors and be, from a Christian perspective, be willing to disciple other people and to help them in their either faith journey or their careers or their fitness journeys or mental health struggles.
Yeah.
There's a huge need for mentorship. And I don't think there's enough mentors or people willing to step up and do it. But what role would that play is it would improve this situation drastically, and especially with people who've been through it. AA is essentially a mentorship in a community for people. It's a pure fellowship. The only huge benefit of AA, it's the camaraderie and it's understanding that there's other people that have been where you are. It's one of the things I tried to convey by writing the first book. Shameless plug. It's called "I Asked God to Kill Me." It's available on Amazon. It's pretty good. You'll like it. So what I try to convey in that book is I've been through a lot of stuff and I share my experiences very openly and honestly because I think there's people that are going through some of the things that I went through, even the dark patches. The book's called "I Asked God to Kill Me" because obviously you can infer from the title I wanted to die. And there's people that are there or have been there. And I think that being open and honest about these things and being people that have overcomers make the best mentors and disciplers. And I think we need to have a willingness to step up and share our stuff more and be open because that's how it's going to get done. Peer to peer is how these things improve and not doctor to peer.
Great.
So I have a few thoughts. That was the last part of the question, but I do have a few thoughts I want to throw out there. So I'm going to be careful on privacy here. There's a person in my life that I'm close to and have known for a number of years. This person struggles with some mental health issues and had a lot of childhood trauma, real painful things, horrible, horrific things happen to this person. And decades later is still walking into that and kind of lives and this person identifies themselves that from that perspective, from a little bit of a victim in my estimation. I had a very heartfelt talk with this person and I said, excuse me, I understand, what you've gone through is real and what you're dealing with. And I'll say she's all about therapy, which I have no problem with, and medications and those types of things. And I said, I'm going to throw this out there and I'm not trying to be offensive. Would you consider working on your nutrition, lifting some weights, and getting outside and taking some walks and just to see if it helps? Right away, the response was, and I'll never forget this, and it's like I heard it yesterday. My doctor told me not to lift weights and to stay out of the sun.
Okay.
Let that sink in. I said, find another effing doctor.
Yeah.
Because that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, how long have you been seeing this therapist and on this regimen? And it's been years. And then I said, flippantly, if I'm being honest, how's that working out for you?
Yeah.
It's just we have such a mindset from the medical community of we want to keep people right where they're at. And all we want to do with each session is tell them it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You're a victim. You're a victim. You've been through trauma. You've been through trauma. You've been through trauma. And that's not improving their quality of life. In America, the answer seems to be meds.
Yeah.
And I believe it has to be healing and building up the body, which I know helps heal the mind. How do I know this? Because of my doctorate, Mike? No, I know it because I've lived it and I do live it.
Yeah.
Building up my body has been the best thing for my mental health. And it's helped me in so many ways. So I want to encourage those who are dealing with mental illness. I also want to encourage them to stop with these limiting words. I've been talking to a lot of people lately. I have been actually taking some notes as I've been in these different meetings and conversations, and I've been hearing some words that I don't like that they're coming up, and I'll throw these out at you. The word only. I hate that word, man. The word just. Well, I only worked out for 30 minutes today. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, who's coming over to watch the game? Just me. I hate that phrasing. When you encourage somebody, hey, you know what? Have an awesome day today and, make sure you're getting your workout in and focus on that nutrition. That's the plan. I'll try. I'll give my best. I can't stand these limiting phrases. And I don't even know if that has anything to do with mental illness, but I know it has everything to do with keeping people where they are instead of advancing.
It does seem to be
Minimizing works.
it seems to be affecting your mental health.
Dude, I'm telling you what, I was sitting with a dude and he's using words like this. And instead of being super engaged in our conversation, here's actually the journal. I reach over and I grab this thing and I started going, and I'm taking notes that I have. That's what I put in the show today. But we need to encourage people to not think like that. We need to start seeing ourselves as victors and not victims. And that's a huge thing. And I'm all about that. And I want to press people towards that. The other piece of advice that I have is there's people that feel like they've hit a wall. And I think mental illness has a lot to do with that. Like no matter what I do, nothing gets better and they feel stuck. We tend to want to drastically alter what we're doing. Like we need to make big moves if we feel we've hit a wall. And what I want to tell people is don't make big moves when you're in a little bit of a mental health crisis and or you feel you've hit a wall. Just be consistent. Just do the next right thing. Just keep moving forward. Take little steps. You don't have to take huge jumps, but just keep the consistency up.
Yeah.
I printed off deal from a text thread from a guy that I got earlier this week, and I'll keep him confidential. I send him some encouragement once in a while in the mornings, and he sent back, I've always worked very hard, meaning, at his career, but I've never worked out. The workouts I've been doing would probably be considered pretty weak. That set me off. And I'll tell you why. He's up early and he's working out, yet his mindset is, well, it's probably pretty weak. I can't really lift that much. I can't really do a lot. So what I did is I sent him back, not the actual scripture, but my kind of translation of a Bible story that you might be familiar with. Here's what I sent him back. I said, your training isn't weak. It's just the beginning. It's just like the woman in the Bible who gave a penny when it's all she had to her name. It was considered way more than the wealthy people who gave a ton more than she did. The mindset behind what I sent him was, dude, if you're giving all you have today, like if all you can lift is 10 pounds doing curls, okay, that's great. You've done a wonderful job and you should celebrate that. You should send me a text that says, I gave everything I had this morning and next week I'm going to up that weight. I'm going to keep pushing. It's not about the amount. It's about how close it is to your maximum. That story in the Bible is about people with their giving. And these rich people are coming in, they're worth millions and millions and they might give $10. This lady has 1 penny to her name. She gives that penny. Who gave more? The woman with the penny gave more. And I think we need to have that mindset. And I think a lot of mental health issues, this is a long-winded way to me to get back to my final point. A lot of mental health issues stem from comparison. And the only comparison we should be doing is comparing ourselves with us yesterday.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters. Doesn't matter what you see on social media. It's all garbage anyway. Everybody's got the fancy cars and they're renting freaking boats to go out on so they can get posts, and they don't even own this stuff. They're renting Lamborghinis on the strip in Vegas. It's all fake. And even for those that it's not fake, who cares? Good on them that they have that stuff. You've got to farm your land, and comparison steals every bit of joy from the accomplishments that you're having. We need to celebrate instead of compare. Put that topic to bed?
Yep.
All right. So we're going to question 2, also a multiple parter. And I got to be honest, man, I had no freaking idea what this word even was. Okay. So I don't even know if I'm saying it right. So multiple part question. It's about Reiki. Familiar with Reiki?
No.
Okay. So this dude broke it down into several parts. So I'll address each part. First, what is it? Is this question. Okay. I didn't know. Researched it. You ready for the answer?
Yep.
Reiki, it's Reiki. Reiki therapy is based on an Eastern belief that vital energy flows through your body. The idea is that a person who specializes in this treatment, referred to as a Reiki master, uses either very gentle touch or they place their hands just above the body. So let that part sink in. So not really touching you, to help guide this energy in a way that leads to balance and healing. So I've never heard of it either. Reiki, it's who founded Reiki? So Reiki, as it's practiced in the U.S. today, dates back to the teachings of, you ready for me to butcher a name? Mikao, Mikao Usei. He's a lay monk. I don't know why I find that phrase so funny. In Japan in the early 1920s. And then this practice was brought to the U.S. in 1937. You have thoughts on Reiki, or should I continue?
You can continue. I mean, I'm going to say, when you asked me who founded, I would have guessed somebody named Reiki. So, I mean, I was kind of.
Yeah. So Bob Reiki.
Yeah. Bill called him.
Right. They call him Masao for short. So next part of the question, does it work? My initial answer here is, if people think it works, it works.
Yeah, exactly.
So 1.2 million Americans per year engage in this type of treatment. That seems like a lot, right? It seems reasonable that this practice can involve deep relaxation and a meditative state for the body. So I think that, could there be benefit to this? If you're laid out, and I'm just envisioning this, I'm totally making this up, but it's probably much like a massage type of a situation where maybe there's some candles or some incense going, and there's some very meditative music, and maybe the lights are low. I could see that's pretty relaxing. And I think that would be beneficial for healing. It works probably if you fully commit to it. So if you
believe it, placebos have been proven to work.
Allie, do you want to come in here and show off what you're doing off camera?
What's she doing then?
No. Tiki.
What?
Tiki torch.
Oh my goodness. For the listeners, I'm going to mount a tiki torch to a Roomba knockoff. And
that's not a knockoff.
Good money for it. It's Shakira.
Hey, excuse me. I'm telling a story over here. This is made up by me. She's then going to light the tiki torch.
Yeah,
and it's going to go around the house. And it's probably going to light the wooden flag on fire right behind Jim and those papers. And in the house. And if the house catches on fire, she's going to make sure that her and her daughter and the cat are safe. Jim may or may not be zip tied to a chair. And she's going to make sure that the house burns to the ground.
Here's what's funny. I don't know if you picked up on this. She said, when you said she's going to burn stuff down, she says, "Who am I, Antifa?" Yep. Here come the comments.
Well, it's your last podcast today because I'm going to, burn you down.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, this could be it. Could be the final. We may not get to 52.
This be it.
But on another note, you were describing Reiki therapy correctly. That's exactly how they do it.
And you've had it done. Mm-hmm. Do you want to share anything?
It's emotional. So you leave, they bring all of your feelings to the surface.
Did they touch you, or was this above the skin?
No, they touch you. And they apply a lot of pressure. And then by the time you're done, because when I got it done, I was like, wow, I feel like I want to cry. Like I have a really bad headache. But it brings everything to the surface. It's really emotional. It's good to have done. I wouldn't do it again now.
No.
Do you still do this? Do you remember telling me about how you used to get that deep tissue muscle massages where they would make you vomit because they'd release all this poison into your system and you would actually throw up?
Every week he does this.
Okay. So yes, I believe in massage therapy and I believe in chiropractic therapy. So sometimes, and this hasn't happened to me in years, but I have gotten to a place where I had a massage so intense that it made me sick. Yes. And sometimes they're painful, and I don't go for relaxation for massages. I go for treatment. And to get the right treatment, sometimes, it hurts. It's like physical therapy. You're not going there to feel better. You're going to go through pain. And then the strategic part of it is, you're going to be healed and stronger. So, but yeah, we're off track of Reiki now.
I know. I just remember you telling me you got a massage and it made you vomit.
I did. That did happen. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Okay.
So it gets a little, here's where it gets interesting. So we've
I like the look on your face when I brought up massages. That was weird.
right. So, well, I used to own a commercial building that had a massage place next door to where we were at. And one day it got raided by the feds.
Oh,
Yeah, it was one of those deals. They were good tenants.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was something. Remember that, Al? They were massage therapists.
Did you ever make her count the sticky money?
Smelled like Clorox in there. It's a whole nother.
Okay, sorry.
The green lights, the blue lights,
Oh,
spermicide lights.
they're not spermicide lights. It's like a black light will show you bodily fluids.
What kind of places has she gone?
Well, that's where she got her Reiki treatment. That's why she was so relaxed. He's drinking from a straw right now. You specifically instructed him.
Right.
He's getting cut out. So this part of I like this question a lot. I know we're being a little facetious, but I found it interesting, and I do know people believe in this, and I'm not one to tell anybody that something works or doesn't work. And if it helps them, it works, and I'm for it for the most part. As long as no one else is getting harmed, who cares?
Yep.
So his question, though, this is where it gets interesting for me. Does Reiki have a place in Christianity? So, okay, I don't know enough about it at this point to form a real solid opinion, but I did do some research that led me to having an opinion.
Okay.
And so I decided to see what the Catholic Church's official position was, because they have an official position on everything, bro. Now, for the record, in case the audience isn't aware, I'm not Catholic. I am a Christ-following dude. I don't believe in religion. I love Jesus. These are different things. So the Catholic Church has taken a position that Reiki is a superstition, and they caution Catholics against being part of it. Okay. That's their right, I suppose, as an organization. To me, it's a little bit like yoga. There's a lot of Christians. You know this, Mike? There's Christians who tell you that you can't, if you're a Christian, you shouldn't do yoga.
I did not know that.
Yeah, a lot of them. And not just Catholics, and they're not crazy, ultra religious.
Crazy. Why do they not want you to be flexible?
So it's not that part of it. There's a spiritual side of it that is based in Buddhism. And there's a lot of Buddhist prayers and mantras and things that they don't line up with teachings and followings of Christ. And I can agree with that. I wouldn't go to something where I'm going to be doing Buddhist mantras and prayers and things of that nature. That doesn't mean I wouldn't do yoga, though.
Yeah.
Because the actual physical aspects of yoga, I think there's huge positive physical, emotional, and probably spiritual benefits to this. So my position from a place of answering the question, does it have a place in Christianity? I don't know that it has a place in Christianity, but regarding Christ-following people wanting to engage in Reiki, I would say Jesus knows our hearts. Religion tells us Reiki isn't for Christians. I don't follow religion. I discourage people from following religion. I encourage people to have a relationship with Christ. Follow his guidance. Pray on it. If you really feel led that this is not for me, this feels very dark, and I know God's keeping me away from it, then I probably wouldn't go against that feeling and go get Reiki treatment. If you're like, I know my heart, this isn't going to distance me from my faith. And I do think there's benefits and relaxation and all these and healing aspects to this, and I want to have in my life, then go do it. These are individual decisions, but I don't think being a Christian would preclude you from going and having this treatment. And I think if you have these treatments, I don't think you're any less of a Christian. I did find there's Reiki.org, and there's a segment on it called Reiki for Christians.
Okay.
So I took a quote from there. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So it says, thoughtful, committed Christians seek accurate information and pray for guidance as part of deciding whether to adopt the practice of Reiki into their lives. Makes sense to me, right? Dude goes on to ask another part of his question. This one's good. Was Jesus using Reiki when he laid hands on people and healed them? So, of course, my first response, no way. And then I thought, let's not be that way. Let's be thoughtful. So I did think on this and I prayed about this. The opinion that I came to is no. And I say opinion because I'm not giving an answer here. I don't know. Just like I say with a lot of spiritual things, I don't know, but I can give you my heart and my opinion. My opinion is that Jesus wasn't using Reiki. Christ was God in the flesh, and he healed both by the laying on of hands, healed by speaking healing over people, and with his words. And in fact, a woman was even once healed because she merely brushed her hand along his clothes.
Yep.
And she was healed. That story you can find in Mark chapter 5, like verse 28. So no, I don't think that Jesus was using some Eastern pseudo-scientific practice. He wasn't implementing that. I think he was manifesting the powerful works of God on earth. That would be my opinion. And I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on whether or not Jesus was using Reiki, but I will stand with, I don't think that he was. He healed in many ways. And I'm of the belief that the Holy Spirit works through people and can heal even today. And that's a whole different subject that would take another podcast. Any closing thoughts on Reiki?
No, close out Reiki.
Okay, done with Reiki. Number 3, pretty straightforward Christian type of a question. Does God punish us?
Now, see, there's a question I like.
Right? What do you think? Yes or no?
I think Old Testament God was definitely the wielder of power, and the New Testament God is the forgiver of all sin. So I would say in today's world and time, no.
Bro, you told me on last week's show that you're at worst an atheist and at best an agnostic.
Correct.
And you know some Bible and you know your stuff, because I'll tell you what I have for my honest answer is in the Old Testament, he does.
Yep.
Now, I'll expand on it a little bit. We live now, the world that we live in 2024 is a post-cross time. So post Jesus, thus the year 2024, after Christ.
Yep.
Where the blood of Christ that was spilled at the cross, that now serves as our atoning sacrifice for our sins.
Correct.
And that's not just the stuff we've done, but the stuff we're going to do. And that gets a little bit in the weeds. But Christ suffered on the cross, died on the cross to spill his blood as an atoning sacrifice. Back in the Old Testament days, blood had to be spilled all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was you're cutting up animals and the blood was going over your doorpost, and that's what Passover is about. And it was all about spilled blood was the atonement. And so today we don't have to do that anymore because of Jesus. Now, what we may perceive as punishment, it could actually be consequences of some of the free will choices that we make. Because that doesn't mean, although that we've been forgiven our sins, that if we engage in sinful behavior, that there aren't consequences to that we're going to have to deal with.
Correct.
That's not punishment. Those are consequences of the choices that we've made. So there's a difference also between
putting you in prison for murder. Man's putting you in prison for murder.
Yeah. God's not punishing you by putting you in prison.
Yes. God forgive you for all you could have forgiven you if you asked for forgiveness.
Yes.
If you seek for forgiveness, you received it. But that doesn't mean that the court's still not going to throw you away.
Great word. I wanted to go to the Bible for this. God does, in the post-cross world that we live in, he does discipline us. And there's a difference between punishment and discipline. So today you get a bonus scripture. Ready, everyone? Hebrews chapter 12, verses 5 and 6. So before that, there's a small commentary. It says, God disciplines his disciples. God is training us not just to live here and now, but to have life in the age to come, to share his life and his holiness. So the scripture reads, indeed, you seem to have forgotten the proverb directed to you as children. My child, do not ignore the instruction that comes from the Lord, or lose heart when he steps in to correct you. For the Lord disciplines those he loves, and he corrects each one he takes as his own. So I would say that's very, very clear that God does discipline us. And in fact, it's one of the ways he shows his love for us as his children and his followers, because it says the Lord disciplines those he loves. So if God is disciplining us, it's because he has love for us. You agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Allie, you agree? Cool. Allie's affirming.
Okay.
All right. You ready for entrepreneurial stuff?
Yes.
You're done with Reiki. You're done with
Reiki.
You're done with the Bible stuff. You've been Bible beat to death today. Now we're moving on to business. You ready to get in your wheelhouse?
Yep.
Okay. Question 4. What piece of advice would you give to a younger person leading a team of older people on their team? You want to go first?
I do. I think a younger person leading a team of older person needs to not even think about age, as dumb as that is. They need to, if it's in your, it's almost like the healing stuff that you're talking about. Like, you know what? If you believe that if something works, it probably does. And if you're leading this team of older people, for some reason, somebody in your organization has seen that you have the ability to lead, and that the older people either do not have the ability nor the desire. Now, there are a lot of people in my organization who I force into leadership roles, and they are very open and candid about, I don't want to be the boss. I'm helping out right now.
Yeah.
So I'd say a lot of these older gentlemen have chosen to not go down that path, or they don't have the skills or the desire. And as a younger person, you obviously do have the skills and the desire to be where you are. So don't doubt yourself. Do your job to the best of your ability, and don't worry about what these, well, I'm younger or whatever. I mean,
yeah.
Could somebody that's older have an axe to grind and whatever? Absolutely. Who cares? Do your job, be good at it, and then all that goes away. If you're doing a good job, don't matter your age.
I agree. Couple things to add. So I think that the first focus, this is going to shock everyone, the first focus has to be on personal excellence. Become the standard that you expect. I think people will respond to that. So if you're a young person leading the team of older people, if you're focused on being the best that you can be, I think that sets the tone and the culture that's going to be conducive to success. And I think people will follow that. So becoming the standard that you expect. I think that it helps to ask, and this isn't necessarily just with different ages, but I think this is a good leadership nugget. Ask the team what they're trying to get out of their career, and then what you could do to help improve that exchange that they're making for the time they give you and for the compensation and opportunity. So again, you talk about exchange. Plug in my book again. There's a section on the exchange that I think that people that are interested in entrepreneurship and leadership will find very informative. But we need to figure out what's the team member trying to get out of the relationship, and then the leader's responsibility is to let them know, I'm here to facilitate you getting that. I also would encourage the young leader to use phrases like, instead of direct orders, saying things like, hey, would you be willing to da 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 da? Or doesn't it make more sense if we try to do it this way, rather than telling them to do so because you said so?
Yeah.
And barking orders at them. Get them more engaged and showing them respect of, hey, would you be willing to try this way to see if this would help get us the desired result? I would also, this is a non-negotiable, don't use the phrase, because I said so and I'm the boss.
Right.
I mean,
if that's your go-to phrase, you need to be the toughest guy in the room at all times.
That helps.
Sooner or later, somebody's punching you in the nose. Well, even if they
correct,
get their ass whooped afterwards.
Yes. So I can tell you that way back in the day when we were in a different world. So at 27 years old, I got the keys to run an auto dealership, and the only person younger than me was the lot guy. Did you just hear the tiki vacuum?
Yep.
Okay.
Fire. You're in a smoke detector soon. You're cheap at smoke detectors.
Get the fire extinguisher. You got one of those racing fire suits I could put on?
Yes.
So Yeah, don't tell people you're the boss. When I was back in the day, I'm in the car business. I'm 27 years old. Everybody, including the lot guys, older than me. And you know what? In that environment with a bunch of hardened car salesmen, you got to bow up at them. Now, I'm not. That's not part of the answer to the question.
Yeah.
But you've got to have that air of you've got to be ready to bow up with these guys because they're going to come out with their chest out at you and try you on. And that's probably more of a real thing in the auto business 27 years ago than it is today in 2024. But even not literally, but figuratively, people will try you on. And how you handle that situation, I think, is important.
So the other thing is, I think from being a young perspective, but I've always done this my whole life and career. I mentioned it before. Always hear other people's ideas and give it genuine consideration. That doesn't mean toe to them.
Yeah.
But get all the information you can get. If you have older guys, they've probably done some of this stuff before. If they've been in their career a long time, even if you're in a leadership role, there are nuggets to pick up from people. And it's not always experience. I'm telling you, I've gotten nuggets of things that we should do or implement from people who are directing traffic. I mean,
absolutely.
Bottom of the chain to the top. I hear everybody saying at the end of the day, I make up my decision since I'm writing the checks. So it's going to be the way I want to do it, right?
Yeah.
I don't tell it to them that way, but that's how we're going to do it.
That's right.
But especially as being a young person, and obviously I've been self-employed since I was 23 years old. So I've had a lot of older people work for me, but you need to listen to you get all the input, but at the end of the day, then you make up your own mind, but don't ever just be like, well, this is the plan I came up with.
Yeah.
The plan will be ever changing. Like if somebody comes to you and says, well, what do you think about this? You know what? That's better. I don't like everything you said, but I'm going to take this piece of it. I'm going to put it with what I said. And,
yeah, they start feeling like you get buy-in from people when you genuinely care and you're actually listening to their ideas and implementing some, because they're going to come up with ideas that are better than yours.
Yeah,
they just will, especially those that have the experience. Another note that I have, I want to make sure that all leaders, but especially in this scenario with the young leader, operate always in extreme ownership, shoulder the blame when things go wrong, never throw the team under the bus, and always be anxious and quick to give the credit away when things go well. Yep. People will love that about you as a leader. And the people that the ownership group or whoever you're answering to as the leader, they're going to understand that you're operating this way. And it's from a selfish perspective, it's going to create a lot of respect from the top down to you as well. Young people, one last word on that. Make sure you're leading up and down the chain of command. So you lead up and then also let them lead down. It's that continuous ladder of ideas, and they come up, they come down. It can't be a one-way street. The next question is a lot like number 4 that we just answered. So I wanted to put them together. And I thought this was a great question. Dude sent me, I'm curious your thoughts on leadership. I've been a 30-year manager, but the 18 to 23-year-olds require different leadership. What are your thoughts on leading what I call the COVID kids that have had 3 to 5 jobs in the last several years and sometimes more? So this is a little opposite of that scenario we just talked about, isn't it?
Yep.
So this is the older leader who's trying to lead the young people.
And reach out to the young.
And this is equally as big a challenge, and maybe even more so. So let me give you my thoughts on this. And this was a last minute question that I got that I added in. I just thought it was so important that I wanted us to make time for it. These aren't blanket statements, and I'm no expert on that generation, the Gen Zs. It's not even millennials anymore. Millennials are 30 now. So that Gen Z generation. So this isn't a blanket statement, but more of a generalization. A lot of them are less money motivated. So like I mentioned in the exchange earlier, I would encourage the guy that asked the question, build relationships with these younger people to understand what's important to them. Doesn't mean you need to go out and have beers with them on Friday night, but you should, during the work day, work on building relationships and ask them targeted questions so you get an understanding of what they want from what's most important to them. A lot of times it's time off. Maybe if you don't have to pay somebody at the very, very top of the scale because money's not their most important factor, perhaps if they get a day off a month, or there's 1 week that there's only a 4-day work week, however you want to word it, that might be of huge value to them, and it's not a detriment to the business. I think recognition is extremely important to them. We need to remember this is the participation trophy, folks, that we're talking about. They need a pat on the back for things that you and I would just consider givens. So, I mean, it's like that Chris Rock special. You remember the one from way back in the day when he says that he's sick of people celebrating stuff that shouldn't be celebrated. Guy says, well, I've never been to jail.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to go to jail.
Yeah.
Well, I take care of my kids.
Yeah.
You're supposed to take care of your kids.
Yeah.
But this generation might need pats on the back for things that we typically wouldn't at our age. Culture, environment is huge. Establish a team culture. I don't think these younger people want to be thought of as subordinates or employees. They want to be team members. You know what I mean? They want to be part of the team. And the other thing that he mentioned, and this is true, they turn over a lot. They don't mind getting a new job every 6 months or whatever. They turn jobs over a lot. So I would encourage this manager that's been doing this for 30 years, try to turn your focus on retention. Retention didn't used to be as big a deal because people wanted to stay with careers and loyalty was a big deal. They wanted to put roots down and build their retirement funds and all those things. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
People are bouncing jobs. So if this leader could have one of his goals be on retention and figuring out what it would take to keep these folks, that's going to be a big win. So if you can develop strategies to retain these team members, it's a huge leg up on your competition. You end up dominating the market space by doing nothing more special than understanding what motivates these people and doing what you can to tweak your status quo in order to have them stay on board for longer. I think it's huge.
I think very clear roles is the main thing, that what you expect and what needs to be done, and you need to be very open with that. And like you said, find out what they want in return for their exchange. But I think that you just have to be, it seems to me that things have to be broken down so simple now. And it's not just necessarily the young people, but everybody needs to know what's expected of them at their work. Like, hey, we need you to be here at this time. Dumb as it sounds, a lot of people, like, the world became so flexible during COVID that a lot of people just think like, start times maybe a suggestion, and working maybe, a suggestion. And so you have to be clear. And then if these people don't think, some of these people that have roll hopped a lot, you just have to be prepared that if they're not willing to do what it is you need them to do, if you and them agree on this is our exchange and they're not upholding their end, then you have to just understand they've had a lot of jobs in the past for a reason, because they're not willing to do what their employer expects them to do.
Yeah, and they don't like to be disrespected.
So I mean,
I
kept a lot of people around that I should have gotten rid of. And I can't even tell you how many times it's bitten me that the guy that doesn't show up to work and he tells you all the stuff that's going on, and next thing you know, you feel bad for him and you're loaning him $500 and you let him miss a couple more days, only for him to then quit and never show up again, and possibly even drop a lawsuit on you or call EEOC on his way out the door.
Yeah, he's either suing you or at a minimum trashing you to your competitors or to the client base.
And after you let him not show up and come in and loaned him money and went and picked him up and gave him a ride and bought his kid McDonald's and then. So that's the one thing.
Seems like that's a real personal story for you.
Yeah, that's all my year of business. The thing I've learned is the people that are trouble, get rid of them quicker. I mean, just
fire fast, man.
Poisoning your damn.
Fire fast is a piece of advice I give entrepreneurs all the time, and it's uncomfortable. You gotta hire slower, take your time in your hiring process, and you gotta fire quicker.
Yeah.
For sure. So we're done with the business part. We got one question left about sports. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, question 6. I am a Husker and Chicago Bears fan. Are both for real? And can I have your thoughts on the rookie and freshman quarterbacks, Dominic Raiola, Caleb Williams? So interesting question. I too am a Husker fan, not some diehard crazy, I live and die by it. But, from a geographical perspective, I like the Huskers to do well. It's just been a long time. And the Chicago Bears, who cares? I'm surprised they have fans that aren't in Chicago. This
Probably they have a Chicago connection,
uh,
or they're old enough that they remember the '86 Bears.
this dude is, and that's precisely what's going on here. Yeah. So he says, are both for real? So the Huskers are for real. We're taping this on Thursday afternoon. So tomorrow evening, I think it's a night game. The Huskers host Illinois.
Yeah.
So Illinois is a ranked team. So sidebar here, and I know they alter these schedules, so I don't know how long they've known this was going to be a Friday night game. We have a men's event at church tomorrow night from 5 till 10 p.m. What are they thinking, man? So here's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. So here's how it's going to look. So, there's like food trucks.
And there's a game on silent somewhere.
So if they don't have a TV somewhere, I promise you, I'm going to be like this. So I have my phone. I'll be like, I'm in like deep meditative prayer. I'll be like, I'm going to be watching the game, bro. Somehow, some way, because they scheduled it on a Husker night, and this is a big game. So maybe I'm a bigger fan than I think. But I do think that Nebraska's for real. I think they win tomorrow night. I think they'll compete in the Big Ten. I don't know that they can get to the Big Ten title game, but possibly. And I think that would be a huge win. Are they going to be one of the expanded 12 playoff teams? No. Not this year, but they're going to go to a major bowl, and I think they're going to end the season in the top 20. And I think that's a huge, huge step forward. The Bears, I think, are not a playoff team. They're in an incredibly tough division. I don't think that they are better than Minnesota. I don't think they're better than Green Bay, and they're certainly not better than Detroit. So they're going to finish fourth out of a 4-team division. They will not make the playoffs. I can't stand their young quarterback for a lot of different reasons. I find him arrogant and cocky, which in some ways is attractive if it's just real confidence, but he's just kind of a jerk. Again, we'll go back to the barista talk at the beginning of the podcast. I just don't understand why this guy paints his nails pink. They did Hard Knocks, the HBO series in Chicago, and he's in a meeting with his head coach. And as he's leaving the meeting, he actually picks up a purse. And I saw all kinds of memes about it and stuff. Dude's carrying a freaking purse, and he's got pink nails. And I thought, well, this is interesting. It has nothing to do with this quarterback play. I understand, but I don't know. I don't know how that plays in a locker room. I think he's hasn't lived up to his hype these first 2 games. I think the game is a little too fast for him, and I don't think they're that good. So the Husker quarterback is for real. I think he's going to win the Heisman Trophy while he's at Nebraska, probably next year. I think he'll be the Big Ten offensive rookie of the year or whatever, freshman of the year. I think he's super talented. He's a legacy at Nebraska. His dad's a stud too. He mimics everything Patrick Mahomes does.
He looks like Patrick Mahomes.
Place of where it's a little bit creepy.
Yes.
So there's that.
Wearing the bandana, the
facial hair. He does the same pregame jump in the end zone. And so, I'm a huge Chiefs guy, so I'm all about that. But go.
I could get behind the Bears if they hired Jim McMahon and William Fridge Perry and put them on the sideline, even if they just give them a league minimum. I don't know.
Couple things. Isn't
Perry could be dead? I'm not even
Perry dead.
Yeah, I think Perry's dead.
And Jim McMahon has the CTE and doesn't even know his name.
So there weren't my chances of getting behind the Bears at all. There's zero chance of me getting behind the Bears under any scenario. I haven't been paying that much attention to pro football this year. I've seen that, obviously you see the Chiefs because of the controversy. So all you got to do is turn on the highlights and they're going to talk about that. The Steelers, of course, are undefeated this year. And so that's my childhood team that's still.
Speaking of the Bears, so they have the Bears quarterback from last year. They have Justin Fields.
Yep.
And he started the first 2 games.
Yep.
And he's completed like 9 more passes than you and I have. And they've won 2 games.
So the Steelers, when they were winning Super Bowls and they were amazing, I'm not talking Bradshaw time. I'm talking
Roethlisberger or way back.
Yeah, any time since Bradshaw left.
Okay.
All the Steelers have to do is have a crazy good defense.
Yeah.
and manage to score 12 points.
Yeah.
And they win.
They've had like 3 coaches.
Run, up the middle, off the side, run, pass sometimes, just so the defense, and it complete a 5-yard pass.
I agree.
And then the Steelers, that's been their key to success for 20 years.
Are you Mike Tomlin fan, coach?
Yeah.
So me too. He's probably my favorite. Well, Andy Reid's my favorite coach, but Tomlin's a close second. And they've had 3 coaches, man, in how many decades? I don't even know.
Yeah.
But they had Chuck Noll.
Bring them in there.
Chuck Noll was coaching them like when we were born, right?
Yep.
And then they had Bill Cowher.
Yep.
And now Mike Tomlin. So they've had 3 coaches since we've been alive.
Time. Yep. So Huskers, I think the Huskers lose tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think I do. They're much improved no matter what. I mean, and I could be wrong. Obviously, I'm not going to bet the ranch on it or anything like that. But I don't know. I feel like they're much improved. I'll say that about them. They are much improved. They just have moments that they don't look that great, and I don't know. They haven't really been tested. I don't feel Colorado was a test.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, pregame they were trying to hype Colorado as a test, but
yeah,
I mean, I don't think they basically paid anybody above a Division II school yet. So
yeah, so it's Big Ten game. Illinois is good. Their coach is strong. I think they have a coach. I don't know this guy. Did he used to coach Wisconsin? I'm probably really wrong here.
Illinois been getting a lot of turnovers going their way. I feel like the Nebraska going to cough the ball up some, and we'll see.
Give me a score.
College games are so hard to say, man, but I mean, I don't see Nebraska scoring more than 21, and Illinois is probably 35.
35-21 Illinois.
Yeah.
I'm going to go something.
And 2 lost turnovers for Nebraska.
Yeah, so they're going to be -2 in the turnovers.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what I think. And mine's probably going to sound a little more logical and realistic than yours. I'm going to go 47-3 Huskers.
Yeah.
And they will turn over 4 times. Huskers get 4 turnovers.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Illinois is definitely going to lead the turnover game.
So it should be fun, and I'm going to catch as much of it as I can while I'm trying to pay attention at the church thing.
Yeah.
So it's all good. We covered some pretty good topics. I want to say thank you to everybody that submitted stuff. And we got more, and we could turn it into another show, but everyone stuck to the listed topics, and that was pretty cool. So I've got some other ones. Some of them were just a little deep. I'm like, man, that seems like a whole show.
Yeah.
Here, I'll read you one because I kept it up here. What are the challenges of incorporating the Beatitudes of Jesus in your political discourse and your encouragement of people to discipline themselves in order to optimize themselves?
Dude, that's a 20-minute sub show that you should do on your own, for real. For real. Like just have like a Thursday release. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. That's a deep one, man.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, I really wanted, I'd like to talk about that, but
I'd call it a short, but I'd say do a 15-minute deal on that.
Yeah. It's like, you think I got nothing else to do. I mean, you took a jab at me earlier today about being unemployed.
I did.
I do stuff.
Yes, I did. Yes.
Well, are you unemployed or do you work for yourself?
I work for myself.
Same with me.
Oh. It's true.
It is, isn't it?
It is true.
I have a corporation.
Yeah.
That I do all of my stuff under. I work for myself.
Yeah. It's true.
It might not make much money.
Sometimes neither is mine, but
yeah. I might not, have benefits and things like that. But
yeah, me neither. Actually, now that there's a lot somewhere than I thought. All
right. I just don't have any dump trucks.
That's true.
Allie, we're getting a dump truck.
Me and Neil Binkley have some dump trucks for sale.
I heard that. How do we get Neil on the show?
I think we just invite him.
Why don't you do that?
I'll do it.
I'll do a 3-box and throw Neil in.
I'm doing it. I'm calling him after this.
There you go. Tell him I said hi. We can do it anytime.
Right.
And then that's all I got. Allie, any parting words for Mike? Her broom is done. Can we see it or no? Let's take a look. Can you bring it in? Quit drinking, dude. What?
Yeah, there's a mess in the kitchen, so.
Where's the torch?
I took it off.
We're going to light that.
No.
She
Yeah.
soaked it in alcohol.
Burn it down. So that thing will go over the shark roving vac.
Yes.
And so it'll just look like there's a broom.
Like there's a floating broom. It's like for Halloween. So we have like a witch.
And this, Mike, this cost me $50. On Amazon, it was going to cost me $90.
Well, I didn't realize that kind of investment.
How much? What did you say?
$50 for all the supplies.
Dude. I guess we should end there. And since we're spending $50 on our crafts for Halloween,
does she know how Amazon works?
Well,
do you know that you can have an Amazon store up in the next 30 minutes selling that for $89.95 and just completely kill the people that are selling the $90 ones?
What?
Should we open an Amazon store?
Yes.
Do you want to do it with us?
Yes.
No, stop it.
We can sell them for $79.
No, because
I need you to mass produce those tiki brooms.
Not after you see the kitchen.
Oh my goodness.
We will
I gotta go.
Short to China.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.